Appreciate y'all checking in as normal. Appreciate you checking in every week. Oh, appreciate you checking in. I see y'all all checking in. Glad to have you all here. Glad to have you all in the building. Appreciate you checking in. Deja, I see you. I see you all checking in. Amarian, appreciate you being here this week. My girl Deja checking in. Appreciate you checking in. Kay Williams. Oh, we got a great show tonight. We got a great show as we always do. A legend in the game tonight. A legend in the game. Grassroots basketball legend is in the game. If you're in the game, then you know exactly who this guy is. He's not a new jack. He's been doing it too long to be considered a new jack. He's an OG in the game. Tonight we have Mr. Tony Squire, better known as T Squire of Squires Richmond. Just a outstanding guy. Just been teaching and preaching and teaching, coaches and players and parents. Trailblazer. Been going on for so long. We're going to bring him in about 2 minutes as people continue to pile in. Kay Williams, who you? Yes, he's a GOAT in the game. He is an absolute GOAT in the game. Guy I've been knowing quite a while now that I'm glad to have here tonight. So we're really excited to have him in the building. We're really excited. It's going to be a great, if you don't know anything about grassroots, you need to know. You need to know where all of this started at, who was some of the main players in the game back in the day. And we got one of them right now who started this all. We're going to let him tell you about himself. All right? Without further ado, let's look and try to get in my guy. Bring him in. Here he comes. T Squire.
What's going on, Chief?
My main man.
My man. Hey, man. This is a blessing, and I have been looking forward to this all day. I was even going to come in and try to get a little small nap in after my caretaking duties with my grandmother today. I said, no, I'm going to start thinking and getting ready, man, to share this story with my brother that so many have no clue how far back we go.
Oh, man, they about to learn tonight, man. I could not call myself having a great show if I don't bring in the GOATs, and I'm bringing in GOATs only. You know what I mean?
Man, much respect. Much respect, brother.
Look, we appreciate you being here, T. And I know, I got a great history with you, but I want you to tell everybody, who you from, who you are and where you from, man.
Okay. Well, my name is Tony Squire, out of Richmond, Virginia. And in November 1987, I signed the papers to start Richmond and Central Virginia's first ever AAU program. We started out as the Squires Running Geechies.
Okay.
And Running Geechies. And look, Geechies. And you know what I'm gonna tell everybody? Yes. I mean, and folk did act like they didn't know what it was, but it was more of sharing a history.
Right.
Everything from the beginning, the vision is always, okay, we're going to use basketball as that carrot.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to find a way and not have any excuses from the way I was raised.
Right.
I never went to a camp when I was young.
Okay.
We never had anything around here to do. We had youth games where it was one team that went away for 1 week a year. And I tell everybody, I tell these guys now, it was far more talent in Richmond, Virginia in those early 80s, 70s than it is now. It can't even compete. I think Moses Malone said it best one day when he said, I can go back home and get about 7 of my friends and we would have beat the Boston Celtics. and Lamont, he was real.
Right.
Because we had guys, bro, 6'9", 6'10", that, some of them took alternative ways when things didn't go their way, and we know how that story exists. Right. But that was the vision of trying to create a platform to give more guys an opportunity. Obviously, I started Squires, but it wasn't about Squires.
Right.
This was about all kids. I didn't want to get caught up in like so many others that tried to stop me and didn't give me a chance or anything. And all I was trying to do was to figure out what does it take? You had some guys going to school, but it's not about that. I wanted to get the majority.
Right.
Let's talk about options for the guys that didn't get the grades.
Right. Right.
Let's talk about the guys that had setbacks.
Right.
That might have had to go to juvie or got locked up or didn't get anything. Let's talk about second chances. What can we do to create something that would give people second chances and everything? So started the program in '87. I was a volunteer coach at my alma mater, Huguenot High School. And I was doing it for a couple years.
Okay.
And I remember Rick Barnes, who's now my man Rick, that's at the University of Tennessee. Yeah. Then he was the head coach at George Mason. Really? So Rick was coming by to see one of the players there, Butch Morris, who I happened to send to 5-star camp, him and Alexander Coles, in 1987. That's the first time. And I was like, God knows, what is this? Right. My mother wasn't able to afford to pay $500 to send me to a 5-star camp. I wasn't good enough, because back then, 5-star was the place. Absolutely. Before AAU. Absolutely. I mean, Michael Jordan, Pat Ewing, Moses Malone. I mean, you had to be who's who. Right. They had a waiting list for $500.
Yeah, I remember.
Man, 5-star. I mean, I met Mr. Garfinkel, and our relationship carried on for years and years and years now with Lee and all the rest of the guys. But that's pretty much. Rick Barnes was the first guy to ever tell me about AAU, because when he was coming to see Butch, I was asking him. I was like, Coach, how all these guys get ranked, and how do they go to these McDonald's All-American games? How does all this stuff happen? Right. And he said, you never heard of AAU? I say, no, because we never had a program here. So Rick and I still talk about this when I see him, able to talk to him. And he was the first one to tell me about AAU. And that's how I made a phone call. And I remember the commissioner then was so excited. He was like, I've been waiting for somebody to do this in the Richmond area. Really? And I was 24 years old, Lamont. 24. Wow. Let's put that in perspective nowadays.
Right.
What you're doing at 24 years old.
Right.
See, I don't try to miss what God gives you.
Right.
Because I tell everybody he took the most unlikely person in the human eye to do some significant things.
Right. No, that's crazy, man, that it's been that long.
Yeah.
But people like me, when you hear Tony Squire, the only thing you can think of is basketball in Richmond, and this was your city. But what were you doing before the Squires? Like, what was life like for you?
Let me tell you something, Lamont. To sum it up quickly, I was a guy that didn't have a lot of male figures around growing up. My mother had to work extremely hard, sometimes twice, 2 jobs, and I remember one year in particular. I still tell guys this story, because where I'm living at now, and to where I used to live in the West End, when my mom used to have to work a couple jobs, it was a rec league that I wanted to participate in that was in the South Side. And my mom really didn't even know. I mean, I used to walk and run miles across, going across a bridge and going into a South Side neighborhood to participate in this league. My last 2 years of high school, my sophomore year, I played on the JV team. Okay. My last 2 years of high school, the city decided to combine city schools. So my school was combined into 3 schools, and the other city schools were combined into 2. It was Marshall Walker and Armstrong Kennedy, and then my particular school was Jefferson Huguenot Whiff. So let's think about that for a minute. So now you're talking about a guy like me that was on the fence. I was okay, had never been to a camp. I never had anybody to take me to work on drills or do any of these other type of things that these kids are just taking for granted nowadays. And so my last 2 years, I wasn't able to play any sports. I wasn't good enough. I mean, you're talking about 3 schools. We had some really good players. And so after that, I went to a community college and then I started working at health clubs, and then a couple years later, met a guy at the health club, and I got a very nice opportunity to start working at Philip Morris. Then I went back and started volunteering. I was volunteering at middle schools. I volunteered at high schools, but that was pretty much it. I still had that passion, and I was the type of guy thinking of what people have now. I would have done anything back then. A guy would have told me, try to run through this wall to get better, or let's go lift some weights. Let's go do all these things that we've been doing now for 33 years for guys. I didn't have any of that. So I wasn't going to be that guy that said, oh, I didn't have anything, or I had to find a way to do it. I had to do this and that. Okay, for certain folk, that might still be okay. But we know for some, we need every opportunity and for someone to lift us, to pick us up, to share with us, because you can't take everything with you.
That's right.
And so that was me beforehand.
Right. No, you took the opportunity and you built a legacy of just unmatched proportions with the Squires Richmond, man, and you've had, man, list goes on and on of alumni, man. I know you're not the bragging type, but take a minute and let everybody know who you are. Give them some idea who does come through this legendary program, man.
Wait, you know what, Lamont, I think one of the first years when you're talking about Isaiah Mars, Milt Bell, Jonathan, the Hargett, everybody talk about Jonathan Hargett. We can get back to him a little later. But he had an older brother, Mike. All the Hargett boys, I had the second brother, because he was a senior in high school that year down, and he was a killer too. Kendrick Warren at that time was ranked top 5 in the country as a sophomore. He was in that same class with Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill. Kendrick was like top 5 in the country. So that opened up the door a lot. Then we had Butch Morris. Butch at the end up going JUCO. He was the one that we sent to 5-star in '87. Went there as one of the only unknowns, because most of those guys have been going to 5-star since middle school. Butch went to camp in '87, made the All-Star game, gave Alonzo Mourning like 22 points in the All-Star game. So after that, I was like, wow, this was my first little taste, and I'm still green as ever. Look, if you don't have anybody to talk to, if you don't have anybody that's been there before you around, then luckily I think I've done okay for 30-some years not having anybody as an example. But I'm gonna start with those guys, and then Lamont, it's no way you'll get me in so much trouble. Some guys might be looking, T Squire, you didn't mention me. T Squire, you didn't do this and that. I'm just gonna say this. All right, look, we can talk about some of the guys that have gone pro, and then how you and I met with Quincy. And I tell people this story now. Lamont and I met back when they were coming from, you all were coming from Lumberton, North Carolina. Yeah. See, it's not like nowadays. Right. You got so many AAU programs in North Carolina that's putting satellite programs. Squires couldn't do that. Right. We weren't that. You know what I mean? We people came to Richmond and participated in the program, and it was a more personal thing. Because like people say it now, Lamont, when I drove and met Ray or any of those guys, I drove and met the family. Yeah. Like coming to Lumberton. I started coming to games in Lumberton. Yeah. I started going to games when we had Akeem Richmond. Yeah. So coming from North Carolina, then we had Stanley. I mean, Stanley. Stanley's last name. Stanley. The Stanley boys. Cameron Stanley and his brother from Raleigh. Yeah. And before that, we had the twins coming from Myrtle Beach, the 7'1" twins, Sam and Simeon Haley. Oh, yeah. Then after that, I met more kids from South Carolina. That's how I met Ray Allen and Mike Minifield. And then Ray stayed with me this summer before his senior year. And he started telling me about Kevin. And I'm like, who is Kevin? He's like, T, just in the 10th grade, I want to get him with you. And that's how Kevin Garnett, I met him. And so, man, it's been so many good players, and we've been blessed. But you know what? The other part of this is too, Lamont. Going back to one of the reasons why I started this, it's about all kids. Right. We wanted to create, because even though I saw something and didn't know what I was seeing then, God was just guiding me. But now when I look back, I look at all the guys that my motto was, give everybody the same opportunity. Because you never know who's going to end up being what. That's right. I had guys playing on my B team, C team. I mean, Chris Johnson. Yeah. Chris Johnson played on our B team up until his post-grad year. End up getting LSU, and he ended up being in the NBA for several teams. So it's about all kids that are appreciative, that want to work, and the parents in them want to listen, and anything can happen. So I just say all the kids. I mean, from my guys now that's presidents, like a Michael Torrance, that's president of Motlow State. I got former alumni kid Arthur Blakey that was on my B team his whole career. He came back and had such an impact. Now he just got recruited. He's a marketing director for Chase Manhattan Bank. I mean, I got Dr. Peden that's involved with this, business owners, here with Kenya Williams running his own business. I mean, I'm so proud.
That's the real success, man. You know what I mean?
I had one to come by today I hadn't seen, living in DC now, working in corporate and doing great things. Man, especially when some of the guys come back and just say thank you. Yeah, man. Because, this is an ungrateful business. Yeah, Lamont, I mean, I love it. And I tell everybody, I'm glad God has numbed me to ungratefulness and unappreciation. Because it's evident. Because I don't know how in the world that I would still be here 33 years later if I took all this stuff personal. Right. Everybody, that's my man. T Squire this, T Squire that. Got businesses, never donated a penny to the program. Got guys, never came back and tried to coach. But I still love them. I still love them because I never take personal to what's expected.
That's right. That's
so no, that's real. Because hey, look, anybody that's in this business, it's supposed to be this way. That's right. Because the devil can't stand to see anybody go back and pull the next one up, or empower the next one, or share some of this knowledge. Right. You know what I mean? And even if you're a parent, right. My son didn't touch a ball. Yeah. I put him in a camp when he was 5 years old. He didn't really pick it up, but everybody knows him because he had to go with me every summer to Vegas or ABCD, traveling all over the world. But I tell everybody my blessing, and you talk about Tony Squire, I want to boast a little bit. I'm gonna let you look at this shirt. Okay. Yale Dad. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's that blessing from up above. That's right. As a student. You know what I mean, bro? Yeah. See, so that's what I I don't take anything for granted, man.
Yeah, man.
And I am so happy that God keeps me motivated through it all.
Yeah, no,
you know, so
you've helped so many, man. And I tell people all the time when it comes to, you know, Quincy and his start, man, it was the Squires that made Quincy. There's no question.
That's
you know
it.
What I mean?
Thank you, man.
No, there's
no it was love.
You know.
And look, hey Lamont, hold up. Let's go back. We ain't got to name names because we might forget somebody get mad. But you remember we assembled that freshman team and they went up to Cincinnati.
I already know.
Woo! Oh my God. I mean, Quince, I think about all these, and we had kids from everywhere. And see, here go again. Yeah. Look, and one guy, I saw one of my former players like, yeah, T, you start focusing in on guys, no, out of town. I said, no, I didn't. You all know what it was because before Squires got that sponsorship, I know we're going to talk about that later, D, you all know what I was up against. You know all the resistance. You know some of you all people were making you not play for us and to travel on down to wherever else to play. You know, I remember all that. So that's why I had to go out and meet kids and that parents, I wasn't sponsored.
That's right.
Think about this. Ray, Kevin, the Mike, the twins. I had all them, Lamont, and I wasn't even sponsored. I didn't have nothing to give nobody. Even though if I had it, I wouldn't have gave it anyway. Because Tony Squire don't roll like that. Right. You're going to choose us on. I'm going to have you decide on this program on what we have built, on what the folk beside me that stood beside me, what everybody was about as a man, young man, African-American man, what this thing is, because it's real.
That's right. And you being the first, man, you had to face so much. Give us an idea of what it was like being the first, man, because everybody got something to say about the first.
Okay. Let me tell you what the first was for a 24-year-old went to a community college, didn't play sports in college, didn't finish out playing in high school. Okay. I'm going to get that off the bat because, you know, and especially in light of what's going on now in the world, any of my young players from back in the day, they know. They're men now. You know Tony Squire had to go through racism, but I went through just as much classism as I did racism. Oh, you not supposed to be doing this. What you think you're going to be able to do? You don't know anybody or what can you do for a kid or some of the things they said to some of the players. My player that was over here today, he told me at one point the high school coaches wouldn't even let him wear a Squire t-shirt around at the gym. Or you wasn't going to make the team. You know, but then I have those great relationships with the other high school coaches, like one that just happened 2 years ago. Coach Scott from Prince Edward High School, on his retirement night, I went there to give him a plaque. At halftime, he honored me with a ball because of the impact that I've had with helping him with his kids. And he started playing with us when we had Ray and them playing back in those days. So, you know, it is, you know, Lamont, I think what this thing is, and this is a great question in light of what's going on today. Not all black people are bad. Not all white people are bad. Racism sells, classism doesn't. That's why we see it, you know. But I have great friends, all races. As a matter of fact, some of the people that's helped me kept this program going have been other races. You know, so I don't get caught up in that. But people tried to do it to me. But I promised myself that no matter what was going on, I wasn't going to be the same way with the next groups coming up. Because I'm happy. There's about 50-some programs that have followed the lead. Whether they like it or not, know it or not, you had something to guide by. You had something to go on. I didn't. You know, when they were trying to stop us where they didn't even want another program, this program came in after me, wanted me to stop what I was doing and come up under them. And I said some things to those folks back then, Lamont, that I'm not even gonna say on this thing here now, because of the way I was raised. You know what I mean? Just the way. No, I don't know. Right. Yeah, we didn't have no sponsorship. That's right. We had the claw grip. I tell you, my money, I don't even call it debt. I call it investment of the money that I had to put into this program, because I've never allowed someone to say, hey, we want to do this and that. We want my son to play. And, we had a guy to back out on one time because of some situation. I had to tell him, you take you and your son and go. I just wouldn't put everything on a credit card to make sure the kids got a chance to still go. Lamont, because you run into those things. Right. But I am a true believer that no matter how hard it is, when you continue to do things the right way, I'm living proof, because we haven't been sponsored since 2008. I mean, I'm still in this thing for 12 years, and I'm also still in it for all kids, not just the best kids that everybody wants to ride that coattail.
Yeah. Well, you was one of, you had a great sponsorship at one point, so you know how the shoe game go. But how do you think? Absolutely. How do you think once the shoe companies got involved, how do you think they impacted the game?
Well, let me, it's a great question. And someone asked me a while back, they said, T Squire, suppose another opportunity came with sponsorship, would you take it? And I started looking around just like this, Lamont, and I said, probably not. I said, because I was blessed. I was brought in by the original OG, the Godfather, Sonny Vaccaro, through my guy, my brother, Gary Charles. Who introduced Sonny, because Lamont, I'm just going to call it like it is. During those times, it was hard, because we had to find kids from other places. People were keeping kids away from us, saying all kinds of things. And for whatever reason, a lot of times people just believe stuff that's, it doesn't have a lot of truth behind it. Maybe it's the person that's saying it, or whatever, or I didn't have the complexion for the protection, or whatever you might want to call it. But my guy that I grew up in this game with saw what I was doing. I started putting together my first tournament in 1993, and the first ever type in Richmond, and it blew up. I think we had over 100 Division I coaches, and Kevin Garnett put on a show. He went from, everybody came here to see Zendon Hamilton, who was the #1 junior in the country then. And then everybody left. Who is this 6'9" animal over here hollering and screaming, catching jump shots out the air? Kevin Garnett was in the auxiliary gym going crazy, and the rest was history, But when I was brought in by Sonny Vaccaro, that was the best thing. The best thing that ever happened. Sonny Vaccaro, I think, did it the right way. Today's time, I don't think I can do it. And what I'm really against, and I've said it publicly before, in a world where there's so much divide and everything is about who has this or who has that, we never, when we were sponsored, you could go to all tournaments. Nowadays, you have the EYBL, you have the Gauntlet, and you have this and that, where they only allowed to sponsor teams. And my personal opinion, I think they're missing the boat, because really what this thing is still for, what I thought it was for all kids and give kids an opportunity. Right. When we started in the beginning, before we were sponsored, I mean, if it was like that, a lot of our kids wouldn't have got some opportunities. But they had a chance to go and play against these guys and the top ranked guys. I still remember going to Myrtle Beach. That's how I met Ray and Mike Minifield. And I put a 16-year-old team. They had to play against Jeff McGinnis, Stackhouse, and Coach Capel. All of them was on the same team for a North Carolina team. They beat us by like 60, and all our players was like is there a back door we can go out? Like, no, we're going out this front door.
Right.
And you're gonna have a smile on your face because you to learn something. You know you need to work.
Right.
Okay, this is what this is about. You're not ashamed because someone is better.
Right.
That's what life is.
That's right.
What you can do is learn from it, and hopefully you want to get better. So the next time if we see them, they beat us by 60, maybe they beat us by 20.
Right. Right. That's right.
So
no,
but it's a different time out here now, Lamont. You know, I don't know. And if somebody say you crazy, I don't know. If Sonny Vaccaro maybe was get back into the game, and it goes back to the way it used to be, right, when I thought it was a brotherhood. Right. You know, I'm not fighting against the guys that sponsored with me, right, or having to compete with the guys with me. You know, we pretty much ran our own areas and things like that, and didn't turn into just grabbers.
Well,
so I don't.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you know, back in the day in Virginia, it was like y'all and Boo Williams, y'all ran the state. You know what I mean? So
right.
At some point, it was like teams started, instead of competing, they started joining forces. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
You know,
right.
What's your thought about people just copping out? You know what I mean?
I you know what, Lamont? I think to each, I'm gonna start with to each their own, and whatever type of advice they maybe have gotten about, you need to try it this way, that way. I've never considered it, even after we weren't sponsored, because okay, Sonny Vaccaro came to Richmond and chose me over the other program at that time that had everything. They had the corporate sponsors. They were paying guys to coach. They had everything. I mean, they had it all. They were getting all the better players and all this, and was going to national tournaments. We went to our first nationals, I think, in '95. I took my first plane trip in 1996, going to Vegas, going to the nationals. Right. I had to crawl first. Right. But when Sonny Vaccaro came in, sadly, well, I'm not going to say sadly, for some that might not really truly get it, right, his thing was, other than Gary Charles pushing it, who is this guy that went and brought them twins in here from Myrtle Beach, right. Ray Allen and Mike Minifield, and then he bring in Kevin Garnett, and he's not sponsored. Right. Tony Squire had to get in his car and drive to South Carolina to meet all the parents, introduce myself, tell them about the program, tell them how I started it, what my plans are. I didn't have anything in the trunk. I can load you up with all the gear and the shoes. Sonny Vaccaro's like, who is this guy? And that's the guy I'm going to go with. And that's how we were chosen. So, you know, man, it's now, I have to remind guys, you know, like I tell everybody, I think I said it to you, I'm not trying to prove anything. If you don't want to do your homework, do your history, and read on what it is, you think I'm going to lure you with something, Tony Squire is not the guy. Right. He never was that guy, and he never will be that guy, because I'm going to still be about people, doing right by you and establishing these relationships, just like you and I on this phone now, Lamont, after all these years. You know, that means more to me than anything else. And I have to remind them also, what y'all think something has changed? Right. I say people might try to take it as for whatever it is, but I'm humble and I give it all to God. Right. I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait for a live period tournament. That's right. I don't have to wait for April or July to go somewhere. My cell phone is still a college directory. I was still the first person selected as the selection committee for ABCD, getting kids in the Richmond area, first ever going to the ABCD camp. What they think, my eyes didn't change? The coach is not going to respect my opinion because sponsorship is gone? No. If you just do your homework and understand that whatever level you are, I can still pick up this phone and put you immediately on somebody's radar. That's right. If you want more than that, Tony Squire is not the guy. Right. So
Hey, your background speaks for itself, man. If they don't get it, they won't get it. You know what I mean?
Oh, whew.
So
Lamont, man, I still go through that now. And I'm just like, Lord Jesus, but it is what it is.
No,
you know, you still go through it sometimes.
Yeah, you get your just due, like you said, is all these successful kids on and off the basketball floor speaks for itself. Now, is there any kid in your program you looked at when he first got there and said, "Oh man," but you might have saw him, people might have liked him, but didn't see what you saw? Is there a kid that you just knew, oh, he's special?
Oh my God. Oh shoot. Man, Lamont, see, here you go again. You're trying to set me up for some of these guys to come back and say T Squire.
I'm gonna get you in trouble.
I know, but you know, I'm gonna go back to what I said a little earlier. I truly believe that if you give everybody the same opportunity, you never know. You know, because I go back to like the Chris Johnsons. He was on our B team until his post grad year. You know, who was a little skinny kid that just kept showing up, never had an ego, never complained, played on one of our B teams, and all my teams go to the same tournaments. But he kept working, and then he got that God-given growth spurt to be about 6'10" with perimeter skills. And I will never forget it. We were going to Vegas. And at that time, he had only like D2 offers. I think it was D2. And we had a pretty good team that year. You know, we had him, we had Sean Taggart at Iowa State, Memphis. And then I had a young up-and-coming one with Baby Shaq, you know, that was like 7'3", 300 and some pounds. But Chris Johnson came out here. Most of the coaches were coming to see Sean and the other guys. I'm gonna tell you, it was so funny. I tell everybody the story. We came out in Vegas. I think we were at Green Valley, standing room only. We were playing one of the LA teams, and Chris Johnson came out and hit 3 straight threes to start the game. And we had a 6'10" on the top of our press. All right. Okay. So out there, agility, jumping out the gym, stickbacks, monkey dunking, and everything else you want to call it. And I still remember I was running to the bathroom, and I had about 5 or 6 coaches follow me in the bathroom, like Chris Johnson. I thought you was here to see so-and-so. I thought you was here to see so-and-so. No, Chris Johnson. Right. So, I mean, that goes back to a guy that didn't have the ego. He wanted to work. He was appreciative of the opportunity, and he ended up going to LSU. Wow. You know, and then with other things he had going on, they took care of the things, man. Because I've had certain guys too, Lamont, with learning disabilities and all these other things, you know, and it's certain schools that I will never forget what they've done other than the basketball piece. Right. You know, those ones that really need it. No, not give them something. That's right. You know, my old saying about if somebody is hungry, I'm not going to take you somewhere and give you a fish sandwich. Let's go to this river and show you how to fish. Right. You know, and that's exactly what they did with Chris. And he's had a great career, man. I mean, but it's so many, Lamont. But I certain stories when you know kids have had to struggle academically, right? And they didn't give up. Now, back in the day, this guy would have been going to get a job, going out of high school, going into the service. You know, that's the difference of what this spring and summer platform has done. People can talk about it. You know, we always try to get this division again, always divide. No, high school and AAU coaches, we work together. Right. You know, what part are we missing? That's right. We all know. We going to Vegas. Those schools wouldn't have seen him if he would have stayed right here. They're not investing that type of money unless they see these kids going up against major league talent. Right. I'm not gonna fly from Hawaii to see a 6'8" kid going up against 6'4" the majority of the season, or 6'5".
That's right.
That's not a fair assessment. And it's nothing personal. That's just the way this thing works.
Mm-hmm.
But people have to work together, man. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to all this, that, man. What are we in it for?
That's right. Everybody wants to shine, man. They want to shine.
Man.
You know.
No question.
And you mentioned earlier about the 5-star and the ABCD. Those were the camps you had to go into. But now it seems like now there's a camp on every corner. And so what's your thoughts about how the camp game has changed?
Well, I tell you, well, I'm gonna speak on when we used to really just heavily do the 5 stars, like when all of us was there, Lamont.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the thing I loved about them? And I mean, same thing with Eastern Invitationals back in the day and all of them. But I guess I got to speak on them 5-star because I started with them in '87.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, and the kids didn't understand why. Because my little mama boys and the ones that used to avoid a little hard work,
right.
It's no getting around to that 5-star.
No.
Lord Jesus. Look, when I used to go and just work the camp or hang out, I'm tired by the end of the day, and I haven't played a game.
Yeah,
so they did it the old. I used to just laugh how some of them would try to make excuses of, oh, I'm hurt, I need to go home. No, you're not.
Yeah.
We're going to put some ice on that thing. We're going to give you some Advil. I'm going to call your mother, and I'm going to tell her, don't you dare come up here and get him.
Yep.
Little Johnny will be okay. Yep. Little Johnny just lazy. He's never had to work this way, and that's just what it is. Yep. I loved it.
Right.
I used to try to send as many guys as possible, especially all those years in Hampton, Sydney. I mean, we used to have 20 to 30 kids going there pretty much because it was right down the road. You know, I called Lee and Tony, and then Tony's up there at UMass right now. But it was about the work, Lamont.
Yeah.
It was about understanding what this thing is, and then after 5-star, that gave me a gauge. I'm gonna have another conversation with you.
Right.
You sure this is what you want to do?
Is this for you? Yeah.
Is this for you? Because there's no getting around it.
Hey, if they didn't volunteer for Station 13, right?
Oh, hey, Lamont, that was mandatory. And the weeks that I'm there, yeah. I wish I thought I was to see one not there. I'm going to your dorm room and find you, and you coming up here getting in this thing. I didn't let anything go. They were like, no, coach, no. We know the routine.
Right.
You need to be showered and lights out by 10 o'clock.
Right.
If you want to stay on that little phone and talk to your friends, pay the price the next day. You got to pay the piper.
That's right. Those were the good days, man. The black top,
man, outside. Woo.
Hot. Oh man.
Oh.
I remember.
Lord.
I remember taking Quincy because I didn't know the game then.
Right.
I paid for Quincy to go, and I went, and I was like, man, they are working the snot out these kids.
Oh. I swear. I mean, and I'm talking, and see, that's the great thing about it. And you talking, it's been that way forever.
Yeah.
Even when Michael Jordan and Lynn Byers and Lonzo Mournings and Billy Owens, and the list goes on and on. All of them had to do the same thing.
Same thing. And you know what?
Yes.
You know what's funny, Tony, is I think that the culture has changed so much. Is why, to me, 5-star couldn't last, because they start, the culture that these kids are brought up in. People pamper to them, and they treat them like prima donnas, and you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. Lamont, it's funny you said that. I think for the most part, people and parents want the real stuff. Initially, it affects them a little bit, especially if they're not used to somebody not blowing smoke.
Right.
Because it's just like, case in point, what I did past couple weeks since with all this stuff going on. I've been calling coaches and just giving them certain names. But I'm also telling them they might not be your priority list, but let's just talk about your next best list. And I'm also telling them, and I tell the kids this, you know, for some of you all now that's thinking about doing another year, some of you are also thinking, why you want to do it. You have to understand that we need to work on those weaknesses. And then the other reason is, now understand this, some of these coaches that I'm calling, they've never seen you play. They've never heard of you. They're doing this sight unseen, okay? And that comes from reputation. And I don't mess that up for anything because I don't believe in messing with any coaches. That's a livelihood.
That's right.
If a coach brings in the wrong guy because you want to pump your guy, but you know he'll look crazy on the sideline, don't like to work out, and you know they got 6 in the morning workouts and all this, and then he getting there missing, the head coach gonna look at him like, did you do your research?
Right.
If you get a couple of those, that head coach is gonna fire you.
Yeah.
So I don't play with anyone's livelihood. So what I'm telling these guys, some of these people that we're getting the call now, you might not get another call after they see you. But that first call, this is the main question we want to talk about. Yeah, we, oh, the campus looks beautiful, the workout room. Okay, but you won't ever see that if they won't recruit you. So you want to ask them, what do they look at in a player and what's the typical workout schedule and all? You want to ask those questions first and foremost because you never know if you will ever get that call again, because we know it's a business and guys might see a film, then they might not like you or you might not be their type. So let's ask that the first time while you getting this opportunity sight unseen.
Good stuff. Now, I noticed you sent me not too long ago. You got your new website looking good, looking like $1 million, and I'm sure the Squire's got some things in the works. Once this pandemic's over, things come back to normal. How's it looking for the program?
Well, Lamont, I tell you, this virus, I try to look at every obstacle as an opportunity. And honestly, some of my guys would call me and say, T, you okay? Because Lamont, this is the first time in 33 years that I'm not out here hustling and bustling in the springtime.
Right.
People might think that that's something small, but this has been like my life. Right. I've given everything to this program. Your time, your sacrifices, your money, everything. So, but for some strange reason, I've been okay because I've been working with my volunteers. I don't have but a few. And I couldn't have not made it without them. The one that handles my foundation stuff for the taxes, there's been a parent. She's been a parent. Her son hasn't played for me in 15 years,
right,
and still wants to work with the program.
Right.
I have a volunteer that's been an absolute godsend that I met while I was volunteering at the juvenile detention centers, because I've been doing the volunteering there for years. I've started a little prison ministry where I was taking kids in to see some of my former guys. We started a little prison rap thing where I'm taking them into the feds and they're talking to real guys from the street,
right,
and not this little stuff you see out here, y'all little wannabes.
Right.
I'm talking real guys that got like 20 to 30 years, right, and all this other stuff, right, and making sure that I keep them motivated because they're living through me.
Right.
So it's been more of now, T Squire, all the stuff that coaches, I still talk to a lot of my coaching friends and in front of offices, and like my boy Troy just got the GM job with the Pistons. Troy and I go back to when he was co-founder of DC Assault. He bring the teams to my tournament. I got a Scott Perry now that's assistant GM with the Knicks. He was at my first tournament when he was assistant coach at Michigan. Noah, I got a lot of guys that I stay in touch with not those two recently, but some of the other ones, just to say, what's next? What do y'all think I need to be doing?
Right.
And even like with this website, Lamont, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
I didn't have it planned.
Right.
I know I was thinking about because I've been letting somebody else handle it. And now with this time, all right, Then one of my former co-workers, hadn't talked to in like 15 years. He's living, reached out to me on LinkedIn. Let's catch up, T. What you doing? He's like, man, let me help you get a new website. And then my other guy that was handling, he's been out the country for some months. So that's why we end up doing it with Squire's Basketball, because the previous one was squireball.com. So now he's back, and I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do since I done got this one started? That's something else I'm going to have to decide on, going forward. But, Lamont, I'm going to go back and think about all these things, all the strengths, all the things that I just take for granted that I do, and look at what's next, and continue to never forget some of these areas, because you know how committed I've been to North Carolina. Yeah. I mean, on that 95 belt. Yeah. I mean, to some of the areas, we know how some of these small areas work. Yeah. I mean, that crab in the bucket syndrome is real. Right. I mean, guys trying to hold kids to their chest and can't do absolutely nothing. That's right. Don't know anybody. You got 5, 6, 7 schools and nobody gets a scholarship. I don't sugarcoat it. It is what it is. Yeah. And I look at them all like they're the devil. Right. So I don't mind going in when someone calls and telling me, T, I need you to help. Or, can you do this? I'm going to continue to do it as long as God keep me motivated and breathing, and everything else, ideas, conversating with guys like you, and some of the other guys that I trust in the game, and that will say, hey, let's look at doing something, T, or let T with all these contacts. Like when I was blessed to go to the Euro camp in Italy. Yeah. Oh, open my eyes. Yeah. Another reminder, Lamont, that right. 25 guys have been drafted in the past 5 to 6 drafts from overseas that never touched a foot on American soil. Right. That's right. 25 out of 60 spots. Yeah, that's right. Lamont, 25 out of 60 spots. Yeah. When I went over there, and I was over there that year with the Greek Freak and Dante Exum and all them. I got the kid Devin Robinson invited. He went over there as an unknown, and after that, the rest was history. I mean, he ended up being #1 in Virginia, top 22 in the country. Yeah, I love Devin game, man. And you've done so much for so many, Tony. Before we let you go, we definitely got to, because our time's almost out. But I want them to know who you've all been able to touch over the years. So every Tuesday and Thursday during this broadcast, we always end it with some type of game for that individual. So today's game we're going to run through these, but today we're going to play Trivia Tuesdays, right? We're going to play Trivia Tuesdays, right? Got you. And what this Tuesday is all about, it's all Squires Richmond alumni. Now, the list is, we're talking decades and decades long, so we're going to give you a little history on your players and let the people see some of the people that you touched. So here we go. We got 10 to go through. Here we go. We're going to start with number 1. He was drafted to the NBA out of high school in '95. He's an NBA champ in 2008. He's the MVP in 2004, and he's a 15-time NBA All-Star. Tell him who it is, T. Squire. Kevin the Animal Garnett, the most intense animal ever.
He was intense. But people, this is the man. You got to hear this list. We're going to go on to number 2. Here we go. 2008 second-round draft pick for Dallas.
Oh, my God.
The 2-time NCAA champion with Villanova, and he is the 2018 National Player of the Year.
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson. All right.
Jalen Brunson.
There's another one.
Jalen Brunson. He was with us when his dad was the assistant at UVA for a small time while he was in middle school.
That's the history, folks. Y'all got to know it. Here we go. Current member of the Utah Jazz, 2009 NCAA champion with UNC. He's the son of a former 10-year NBA vet, and he's a 2008 McDonald's All-American.
Ed Davis.
Ed Davis, another Squires Richmond
Yeah.
making noise.
It was another one too. Younger. Yeah.
Yep, here we go.
Yeah. He just kept going.
Kept going. 2-time NBA champion, 10-time NBA All-Star, 2018 Hall of Fame inductee, all-time leader in three-point baskets made.
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen, the Squires Richmond is legendary. Hey, these names, folks, we're not making up. This is the man right here. Here we go. We're going into the next one. 9th overall pick in 2002 with Phoenix.
Jesus.
2003 NBA Rookie of the Year. 6-time NBA All-Star, and currently playing in the Israeli Premier League.
Amari Stoudemire.
Amari Stoudemire. Y'all not getting up. Y'all not understanding what I'm saying. This is the same program. Here we go. 2015 first-round draft pick with Dallas. 2014 ACC Sixth-Man of the Year at UVA. And he's an ESPN Top 100 recruit coming out of Montrose Christian.
Lord Jesus.
So many alumni.
Man, hold on. I can't believe it. My brain just froze up. Left hand, what's my boy? Say it, man.
Here we go. Who is it? Justin Anderson.
Oh, Lord, he'll kill me. Bruh.
This is how deep this goes.
Names.
This is how deep it goes. He's a 4-year standout at UVA, drafted 33rd overall in 95. He's the current head basketball coach at Norfolk Collegiate over in Norfolk.
Okay. Junior Burroughs.
There you go. Great. We only got 3 more to go and 2 minutes to get through.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Here we go. 2012 NBA second-round draft pick with Denver. ABA League champion, Serbian League champion, Israeli Cup winner in 2017.
Quincy Miller.
My God, Quincy Miller.
Your guy. There he is.
Here we go.
That's it, brother.
Played 1 season at Duke before transferring to Syracuse. 2016 second-round draft pick by the Pistons and represented the Nigerian national team.
Mike Benajay.
You know, quick thing about Mike Benajay. The Squires actually took him and Quincy Miller to Carolina to play against the Carolina alumni. That's one thing I remember about Mike Benajay. Sean May told me that day, that kid is going to the league. He sure did that day. I remember.
Wow.
Here we go.
Wow.
McDonald's All-American at Oak Hill, SEC Freshman of the Year 2019 at Kentucky, and 2019 first-round draft pick with the Spurs.
Keldon Johnson.
There it is, folks. Tony, before we let you go, I want to tell you I appreciate you, man. We've been rocking for decades now, and you know as well, if there's anything I can do for you, I know I can call you and you can call me. I appreciate you so much, T.
Absolutely. And we got it. We're going to get some things going more forward, man, because we're getting older now in this game. Right. And looking back, it's time, man.
It's time, brother. That's right.
This virus, I'm going to look at the positive, what this virus has done.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm going to speak on.
That's right. Well, Tony, again, I appreciate you, man. Anytime, just give me a buzz. Thank you so much for coming, my brother.
No, I appreciate this opportunity, man. I really do, bro. I'm hoping to do it again.
Yeah, no question. We're going to do it again, my brother. Take care, man.
My man. You too, Chief.
All right. There you have it. My man, T Squire. Been knowing for decades now. Just great guy. Does it for the right reasons. Again, I want to tell you all how much I appreciate you coming in today and listening to all these OGs that we bring as we continue to bring some people that are high rollers in the game, inspirational in the game, and just good-hearted people. So again, I want to thank you for coming and be